Okay, so now we're going to work on the next set of factoring by grouping. This time though, we're going to have more than one variable. Same process as before. We are going to look at, is there a greatest common factor to all four terms? And so we're going to start with 5. Well, there's not 5 there, so 5 is not a 1. So we got an A here, no A's here. We got a C here, but no C's here. So no, there's no greatest common factor all the way through. So again, we're just going to look at the first two terms and see what do they have in common. Well, we have an A. And that's it. What's left over would be 5A, would be 5C, and then plus D. And then our next one. What do they have in common? Well, we can factor out a 3 from here and a 3 from here. Leaves me with 5. Okay, this has a Y. This has a Y. Let's bring out a Y. Leaves me with C. And then plus D. Okay, so as you can see, our two parentheses have 5C plus D. That's our first term. And then what's left over is our A and our plus 3. That one's factored. Okay? Alright, so same thing again. We're going to go again much faster. 14, 21, 16, it does not have a common factor. So we're just going to look at the first two. 14 and 21 have a factor of 7. Oh, we should have seen about variables. B, no B's, no B's. Z, no Z's. Okay, so 7, this has a B squared, this has a B squared, so I guess it's going to be 7B squared for these two. Leaves me with 2. B squares divide out, leaves me with Z plus 3. B squared factors out H. Alright, next two plus, alright, I know I need a 2, so 2 divides into 16 8 times, and we can see where there are 8 is a common factor there, yes, and I know that I need a Z, so what's left over here is an X. Alright, here's an X, okay. So, when I divide out 8 from 16, leaves me with 2. When I divide X from XZ, leaves me with Z. When I divide 8 from 24, it leaves me with 3. When I divide out an X from XH, it leaves me with just H. Okay, and then again, we're just going to rewrite this as 2Z plus 3H times 7B squared plus 8X. Okay, that's about as factors as we can get it. Alright, so on this one, 16, 28, 4, and 7. Well, these are all divisible by 2, but that one is not. That's a prime number. Okay, well, let's look at these first two. 16 and 28, we can factor out a 4. Which is going to leave me, and both of them have an A in common. And so what's going to leave me with it is 4Z. Subtract. Alright, 4 goes into 28 7 times. Divides out an 8, C. Alright. Neither one of these have a number. Neither one of them have an A. Okay, look at this. I've got 4YZ. Got 7YC. Well, I can take out a Y. I do need this to be a positive 4 for this parentheses here. So if I'm going to factor out, I'm going to factor out a negative Y. And what that will do, when I divide a negative by a negative, leaves me with a positive. We have 4 Z's. Divide a negative by a positive, we get a negative 7 C's. Alright? So we're going to have 4 Z's, subtract 7 C's, as now our greatest common factor between these two terms. and we're going to multiply it by 4a minus y. Okay. But you were thinking, oh, this is going to be so much harder than the other stuff that you did miss. Nah. Okay. So again, divisible by 7, divisible by 7, divisible by 7, not divisible by 7. Okay, so we're just going to take the first two here. 7, and then both of them have an A. This one has a C, but that one does not. Okay. So it's going to give me 7c squared plus 5d's times, oops, I'll put myself a little space here. Alright, I need to have a 7 on the inside, so I'm going to take and factor out -6 here. And I need that c squared to stay in, so I'm going to see if both of them have a b squared. Both of them do. Okay, so -6b squared is going to come out. So what that's going to leave me with is 7c squared. And I'm going to have a negative divided by a negative leaves me with a positive. 6 goes into 35 times. B squared divides out, leaves me with D. Not an A, D. Okay, so then I have 7c squared plus 5d times 7a minus 6b squared. Okay, you may come across a time where your two terms right next to each other may not have something in common at all. And the next two terms may not have something in common at all. So you may have to say, you know what, maybe the first and third term or the first and fourth term have something in common. Okay? That happens periodically. Alright, well, we don't have 4 terms this time. We only have 1 term. And look at this. We've got a negative. We've got x squared, y squared. Ooh, ick. Don't like this at all. Okay, and it says factoring by grouping. How are we going to group? What can we group? Is there anything we can group? Well, that's a good question. Let's go ahead. Okay, this one's just a little bit different. As you notice, we only have 3 terms. And factoring by grouping generally means that we need 4 terms. What they did is that they have simplified it. And what they've done is that they have taken 2 binomials, multiplied them together, and added the 2 terms together to combine like terms. And so we're going to do this a little bit backwards. We're going to go backwards with this. So we're going to treat this as 2 squareds, and we're going to rearrange this just a little bit. So we're going to take this and make this our first term, and this is going to be our third term. So that our second term is going to be the combination of what that was multiplied together to get that second term. So when you are dealing with a binomial expansion or binomial multiplication, let me show you usually what we do. We have A plus B times C plus D. Normally you distribute that A to the C to get AC, and then the A to the D to get plus AD, and then you multiply these two together to get B times C. You multiply these together to get B times D. And normally your BC term and your AD term are what we'll add together. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And usually how we get those 2 terms there is, like I said, they would be the same variables here, and we would add them together. So to get that, we're going to take and rewrite this as negative 3x squared minus 5xy plus 12y squared. Okay, then to get our negative 5xy, we're going to find out what happens when we take a negative 3 times a positive 12. Well, that gives us negative 36. And just like what we have done before, where we've had some extra scratch paper here, we're going to take and find out what makes up 36. What factors make up 36? Well, 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, and of course 6 times 6. And if I should happen to add these two together, I would get 37. If I subtract 1 from 36, I get 35. Neither one of those is 5. Add them together, I would get 20. If I did subtraction, I would get 16. Add them together, I get 15. If I subtract them, I get 9. If I add them together, I get 13. If I subtract them, I get 5. Add them together, I get 12. Subtract them, I get 0. Okay, so I'm looking for something with a 5 right there, because that's our middle term when we rewrote this, because we rewrote this in decreasing order of or alphabetically, 2, 1, and then increasing by the next letter in the alphabet. 1, no y's, 1y, 2 y's. 2 x's, 1 x, no x's. Okay. So, since our 5 is negative, our larger number will have to be a negative number. Our positive number is going to be x. It's going to be 4. So we're just going to rewrite this middle term like this. Negative 3x squared minus 9xy plus 4xy plus 12 squared. So if we go ahead and add these two together, it brings us back to this negative 5xy. And we're allowed to do that. And now we're back to our 4 terms again. Alright, negative 3, negative 9. Let's go ahead and pull out a negative 3. Both of them have an x. Let's pull the x out. Leaves me with x. Leaves me with a plus 3y. Okay. Both of them have a 4. Both of them have a y. Alright, leaves me with x plus 3y. And then as you notice, there's our term again. There are x plus 3 y's. And you could write it as negative 3x plus 4 y's, but generally mathematicians, we don't like doing that. We would rather put like this. Okay? Perfectly allowed. Alright, last one. So we have, let's see here, 5 xy's, 40 m's, 25 x's, 8 my's. As you can see, these two have at least a 5 that can be factored out. But over here, this one has a 25, and this is not divisible by 5 or 25. This has an x. This does not have an x. So this is one of them that we're going to move them around. I'm just going to move that 25x. Sweetie, I'm recording. So 5xy minus 25x plus 40 m's minus 8 my's. Okay, so now from these two, I can factor out a 5x, leaves me with a y, leaves me with negative 5, okay, plus, alright, I'm going to divide out an 8, and you can see both of them have an m, leaves me with 5 minus y. Okay, so we're almost where we need to be, right? Yeah, almost. It's just that I want in my parentheses y minus 5. I've got over here 5 minus y. So let's turn these around and see what we have to do. So I have minus y plus 5. And remember what we did before on the first page? That if I wanted that to change, all I have to do is change the sign of this. So that's going to be negative 8m plus y minus 5. Alright. And then just go ahead and factor out that y subtract 5 And that leaves me with 5x minus 8m's. Cool. And that is it. We're done factoring. Haha, even faster this time, didn't it? So even though it looks scarier, don't let it intimidate you. Okay?